Good evening. It's an honor to be here with all of you, and I appreciate the opportunity to have a conversation. You know, 2 years ago I came here and I asked you for your vote. I told you I was going to go to Washington, D.C., and I was going to do the things that we needed to do. Reduce the size of government, try to lower our taxes, try to get what we need as far as less regulation, and try to create a country that we can deal with, our country. And I'm happy to tell you that the one thing we did get accomplished for the first time in 5 years last year was we got back on a budget. I know it doesn't sound great, but for 5 years we didn't have one. And so I got there with a group of freshmen, and we came up with the idea that we're going to have no budget, no pay. Yeah, that sounds gimmicky, but guess what? The House produced a budget, the Senate produced a budget, the President has a budget, and we finally got to some top-line numbers. We've lowered what the government was spending for the first time. We also we started to go back to the what they call the appropriations process, which is Congress's and the House's duty to figure out how much money we're supposed to spend. And we hadn't done that in 5 years. And so we started going through those bills line by line. In doing that, we reduced the size of the IRS back to 2003 levels. We reduced the EPA back to 1988 levels. Because what happened is when the House hadn't have a budget and the House Appropriations Committee does their job, we should pass 12 bills. The Senate should do the same thing. And then the President signs them, and that's the numbers that you live by. But what's happened is that we've been giving this administration a blank check or a continuing resolution, and they've been able to spend the money the way they see fit. And I don't know about you, but I haven't seen a fit thing they've done yet. If you look around at the things that they've done with the IRS, if you just look at any corner of the world right now and tell me you don't see some trouble. The Affordable Care Act, we're all too smart for that. We know what it is. It's no good. And I got to take a quote from David Macko because it was actually a very good quote. He said, trying to improve the Affordable Care Act is like trying to improve on Ebola. There's not a damn good thing about it. And that's the truth. But the trouble is, as long as we don't do our job in the House, and hopefully in 12 days we'll take back that Senate, and when we do that, we will finally force this president to do, for the first time, something he's never really had the will or the want to do, lead. Because you know what? He's been leading us all in the wrong direction. But the trouble is, imagine this. You know how many vetoes this president's had? Anybody want to venture a guess? 2. You know who else has had 2 vetoes at this point in their life? President Garfield, and he got killed after 9 months. President Clinton had 35 by this time. President Bush had 14. This guy's never had to deal with a thing because we in the House have passed 384 bills, common sense bills, like build a Keystone Pipeline. We could have built it 3 times over already, but this president refuses to do so. 384 bills that sit in the House, and Harry Reid won't give him the time of day. So this president has a pocket veto, and he can do what he says, that we're a do-nothing Congress, and that he has to do what he wants with his pen and his phone. It's because Harry Reid won't let us do what we're supposed to do. And when we throw Harry Reid out in 12 days, we're going to have a chance to take our country back. It is about time. I'll tell you what makes you sick, ladies and gentlemen. I can't get into a lot of it because some of it was classified. But remember when the president told us that he was had a line in the sand in Syria? And if they passed that line, he was going to take action. Now, I didn't vote for this president twice, but he's the commander-in-chief. And if he would have took action, we'd fall in behind him because that's our commander-in-chief, and we'd follow up. But he didn't take action. He wanted somebody else to be responsible for it, and I heard loud and clear from all of you, we didn't want to get involved in Syria. At that point, there was 1,400 members of ISIS. You know what there are today? 40,000. And now imagine the havoc that was wreaked on our country by 19 idiots with box cutters on September 11th. Got 40,000 people who swear America is their enemy. And our president gets up there and keeps on talking about the things we won't do. You know, Ronald Reagan, he had a real easy thing. We can all remember, we're all about the same vintage. 4 words. We win, you lose. The Berlin Wall came down without a bullet being fired. This president tells you all the things he's not going to do. Oh, yeah, and then we might start shooting because we're going to contain him. Well, in the last 6 weeks, have we seen any containment? And then we talk about Ebola. Last story, and then I'll let you go. but I sit on the Appropriations Committee for Labor, HHS. In Ebola, the CDC comes in front of them, and I'm thinking one of the ways we could cut government is right there by cutting the funding that they do for vaccinations. But I listened to their arguments, and they had some pretty good ones, that if we don't vaccinate people in foreign countries, they get on a plane, and then exactly what happened to us with this guy in Dallas is what happens. You have somebody get on a plane, then you have 276 people contaminated that go all throughout the United States. Okay, I get that. Then we should do our job. And Ebola, at that point, they said, was not a threat. Now, what happened? This individual lied. Like, who wouldn't lie if they knew they might have it and they want to come back to America? So, you know, the president, even though we asked him to stop, and he finally, just yesterday, agreed to start taking precautions about those people leaving those countries, did nothing about it. The person comes to Dallas, contaminates everybody there. For 2 weeks, the CDC gave those people no warning, sent no one to that hospital on how to train, to dress or undress, on what the troubles were with people maybe in quarantine or self-quarantine. And then this young lady who did fly, who came back to Akron, they would not tell me where she was. I said, do you understand what you're talking about here? There's someone in northeastern Ohio who has the potential to cause not only the virus to expand, but also the panic for the people who live around there. Well, watch our 1 o'clock news conference. Really? Oh, I can't wait till our next session in appropriations, ladies and gentlemen. Because there's one thing that you can do. You get people's attention when you control their purse strings. And I guarantee you, we're going to continue to we take that Senate back, we're going to take back the purse strings, and we're going to take back our government day by day, because we cannot continue to have what we've had going on for the last 6 years under this administration. I tell you, my political acuity was coming from Geauga County, where we work together and get things done. And we save money every year. I just save money. Every 25 years, I always turn money back. Last year, I turned $100,000 back from the budget I was given to run my office as a member of Congress. This is the only government I've ever seen where if they don't get 103% of what they got the year before, that's a cut. Well, I say start at 90%, what you got last year, and justify every penny you deserve over that. Because every time we've had good years, government grew. And we did have bad years, government stayed the same. And what happened, we had good years again, government grew again. But they've never cut it back. They've never done what they need to do to take back our country. Ladies and gentlemen, with your help, I'm going to go back to D.C., and with the help of other honest Americans, we're going to go back and take back that Senate, and we're going to take back our country. Thank you all for listening to me. God bless you all. God bless America.